Haas.
Here.
Trustee Daniels.
Here.
Trustee Renfro.
Here.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes, and would you kindly stand, please, for the pledge? Thank you. Trustee Daniels, would you lead us, please?
Sure. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the officer of New York City that was killed in the line of duty.
It's a moment of silence for the officer in New York City who was killed in the line of duty. Okay, thank you.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Patricia Perez, village clerk, the Board of Trustees hereby takes the meeting of the minutes of the regular meeting on September 3rd, 2019, and a special meeting on Tuesday, September 24th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Haas?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
Presentation of activities report. Parks and Recreation Chairperson, Vanessa Henry.
She's actually attending the Spanish class at 11.
Human Relations.
There was no meeting last month.
And Human Relations Council Board, Juanita is also at the Spanish class. And her report reads as such. Activities report of Human Relations, Wednesday, September the 11th, the village hosted the September the 11th Memorial Service. Saturday, September 14th, they collaborated with the Long Island Transportation Alliance for the annual White Parade and Walking Parade. Saturday, September 21st, we assisted with the Northwell and their efforts to provide community service by performing a beautification project on Pearson Avenue. Saturday, September 25th, the National Remembrance of Murdered Victims Month. There's a candlelight ceremony that was held at Kennedy Park to acknowledge the families of victims to give their support to our families in the community. And the Hempstead 48 Council of Civics monthly meeting is every Thursday, once a month, and the next one will be in October. We also have been trying to have a program for the Village of Hempstead and Hispanic Heritage Month event. Personal Wireless Board, Zoning Officers, Dolores McLean. Irene Dustwich, Hempstead Library Board. Traffic Safety Board, we have our chairperson, Aaron Burns, here today.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Traffic Safety Board met on September 23rd, and the following recommendations were made. Therefore, a resolution is needed for the following. Install a no left turn sign on the south side of Jackson Street, 215 feet west of North Franklin Street, with a sign facing north for vehicles exiting the driveway located at the rear of 117 North Franklin Street. Install a no trucks except local delivery sign for northbound Lewis Place at Jerusalem Avenue. Install a no trucks except local delivery sign for northbound Claremont Avenue at Jerusalem Avenue. Install a no trucks except local delivery sign for northbound Spencer Place at Jerusalem Avenue. Install a no trucks except local delivery sign for northbound Carmen Street at Jerusalem Avenue. Install a no parking here to corner sign with an arrow pointing south on the west side of Spencer Place, 50 feet north of Jerusalem Avenue. Install no parking 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. tow-away zone signs along the north side of Elm Avenue from Laurel Avenue continuing west until 165 feet west of Laurel Avenue. Install a stop sign on the east side of Mason Street for northbound traffic at Sycamore Avenue. Repeal and remove all 2-hour parking signs that exist on both sides of Cathedral Avenue from Mulford Place to Chelsea Place. Please note that regulation shall take effect when signs or markings giving notice are thereof posted. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you.
The Personal Wireless Board did send an email, our zoning officer, Dolores McLean, indicating the status report that they were no requested, no applications submitted. Now we're going to ask for Commissioner Lucas to come forward, the president of his Community Council Civics.
trustees.
Good evening.
We had a community bus ride for the village of Hempstead, where we ride through the village with the trustees. And the trustee that was there was Jeffrey Daniels. Our first stop, we went to the industrial area, and there were several cars there that didn't have the proper stickers or whatever for several months or whatever. And we had most of them towed away. And the people from that area were very happy to see the accomplishment of what the village is doing about unregistered cars parked in the streets for days at a time. And that was part of the things that we went and visited. We also visited other things in the area, but I left the papers home to put the information on. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning Board, Chairperson Peter Pettis. They were present, Rashid Walker, Leroy Brown, Linda Deans, Marcia Turner, and Peter Pettis. They accepted the minutes on March 18th, dispensing their accepted as reviewed and seconded by Linda Deans, all were in favor. There was a total of 5 cases, and they all have got approved. And there's no further business or motion that's needed by Peter Pettis. The meeting is adjourned. The next planning board meeting will be held Monday, October 28th.
Madam Rose, would you have a copy of the board of zoning, please? And Danny's here.
Now I'm going to ask Danny Mayor, if you please come forward for the zoning board of appeals.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees.
Good evening.
This is the report for the hearing that was held just last month, September 5th, 2019. Is this better? Can you hear me? Better? Okay. Case 1976 was maintained in auto body use located at 237 Main Street. That was granted. We had another case in 1989 to maintain an attached shed to a residence encroaching into the rear yard setback, which was also an illegal use as an additional apartment. They're adjourning it to basically remedy or remove the shed. Case 1991 was to construct/maintain, and the reason why it's that is they had permit to construct. They went beyond the scope of the plan, created an issue as far as the second story was for a variance, again, to encroachment and setbacks. That's adjourned until December 5th, 2009. Cases 1970 and 1995 has been ongoing for a while. This is a lot subdivision to create two-family homes on two insufficient lots. That is going to be reheard again. It was adjourned until this Thursday night, which is October 3rd. Case 1988 was to construct 2 superintendent apartments in the basement of the existing apartment buildings located at 9-17 St. Paul Road. That was dismissed again. Failure for the owner to come forward and represent himself. Case 1996 was to construct a 2-family dwelling located at 38 Bourne Avenue. That was adjourned until November 7th, 2019. And case 1997, they were looking for a 6-foot fence at 211 Bend Avenue. That's also adjourned until 11/7/2019. Any questions, John?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have one question there, Mr.
Sure.
Chair. You mentioned a lot that was too small, but you never gave the address.
I'm sorry, 45 West Graham.
25?
45 West
45.
Graham,
Okay.
for cases 1970 and 1995.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now at this time, we're going to have our Commissioner Charlie Thompson move the community development agency report.
Good evening, trustees, Your Honor.
Good evening.
I'll start off talking about CDA properties, 38 Thorn. Went for initial calendar at the zoning board, and the environmental review was completed in its calendar for November 7th for further review. 9 Sunset Drive is, we made an offer to purchase that, and the offer is pending bank approval. The CDA will develop these properties in cooperation with the Hempstead Community Land Trust. Once approved, the next Hempstead Community Land Trust meeting is Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. at Kennedy Park. The CDA is also launching a first-time home buyers down payment assistance program. The CDA will offer up to $25,000 in down payment assistance in the form of forgivable loans to program and income-eligible first-time home buyers purchasing homes within the village of Hempstead. Program guidelines will be released in the fall of 2019. We anticipate that being released later this month. The Main Street beautification project is essentially completed. We will be meeting with the Department of Public Works for the transition. We are currently soliciting landscaping and plumbing contractors for ongoing maintenance. And we have initiated discussions with the Hempstead Police Department regarding the installation of surveillance cameras to make sure that the area maintains a safe environment. Brownfield Opportunities Area report and recommendations are slated to be completed and delivered to the Secretary of New York State by January of 2020. We'll be hosting a final steering committee meeting on Thursday, November 14th, beginning at 5 p.m. at the CDA offices. Hempstead Youth Build. Recruiting has commenced for the Hempstead Youth Build program. The CDA is committed to making opportunities available for youth build participants on CDA housing development and rehabilitation projects whenever feasible. Opportunities Long Island is a pre-apprentice training program, and the CDA is working with Opportunities Long Island and the New York State Workforce Development Initiative to create more training, apprenticeship, and job placement opportunities for Hempstead residents. We have an interagency council meeting with representatives from Opportunity Long Island scheduled for October 8th, beginning at 2 p.m. The Local Initiative Support Coalition. The majority of the funds dedicated to our housing inspector, code enforcement officer, and the first round of funding have been drawn down. The CDA has requested access to additional funding from the second round and also reallocated underutilized community development block grant funds to continue supporting this effort. Additionally, we had a Meet Your Lender foreclosure intervention event held at the African American Museum on Thursday, September 19th. 36 homeowners were assisted, including 5 homeowners who received modifications on site during the event. Safe Routes to School. The construction project budget modification for Jackson Maine is pending approval by New York State. The educational component and new safety equipment are being purchased and implemented this fall. Empire State Poverty Reduction Initiative. The program is currently under review for an allocation of additional funding and resources from the state. Additionally, this is an effort for the trustees, the mayor, and all department heads within the village. Nassau County is currently undertaking its 5-year consolidated plan process for the funding years 2020 to 2024. We have reached out to all department heads requesting priority notification on any projects that might warrant an infusion of community development block grant funding. Now that several of our projects are coming to conclusion, we'll be freeing up additional money for public facilities improvements as well as priority programs throughout the village. That's all I have for this evening.
Now at this time, I'm going to ask Ronald Marjorie from our electrical report to come forward. Please. Stand. Stand. The other one stand.
Mayor Ryan, Deputy Mayor, Board of Trustees and residents, I'm here to give our report for the Electrical Licensing Board for our meeting that we held on September 26th, 2019, called to order at 4:15 p.m. Present was Mr. Constantine, Electrical Inspector, myself, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Dimitru, and Mr. Congeni was absent. We reviewed the minutes of the August 2019 meeting and approved it as read. Following applicants were approved to take the electrical exam. Mr. Elizio Lizardo Anar of Huntington Station, New York, Mr. Robert Fink of Long Beach, New York, and Mr. Ronaldo Ortiz of Brentwood, New York. The following applicant passed Part 1 of the electrical license exam, Mr. Matthew Freeberg of Smithtown, New York. We had a discussion regarding Article 230.56 of the National Electrical Code regarding highway conductor terminations. Additionally, we spoke on Article 680.26 of the National Electric Code, equip potential bonding. Okay, with no further business that evening, the meeting was adjourned at 6 p.m. Respectfully submitted. Any questions? Questions?
Where's your meeting, huh?
The building department on Jackson. 4:15 p.m. we start.
Every fourth?
The fourth Thursday of the month, yes. And the tests begin during the day with the electrical stuff. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly McGee, the planning board, please. And then thereafter, will be Renee Bethany, Alan Story.
Good evening, Mayor Ryan, trustees, and all the beautiful residents of the village of Hempstead. I hope you all enjoy our beautiful 90-degree day tomorrow, okay? None of this business stuff going on? That being said, a regular meeting of the examining board of plumbers was called to order at approximately 4:15 p.m. on September 24th, 2019.
Top of the evening.
Members present were Donovan Castro, Mr. Steinhardt, and myself. We reviewed the paperwork of a Mark Marciano from Freeport. After reviewing his paperwork, it was determined that he met all the requirements in the Tri-Town Agreement, therefore being accepted as a village plumber. The board is also in the process of reviewing all the existing Tri-Town plumbers to ensure that they meet all the requirements. They haven't gone over it in a long time, so we're reviewing all the paperwork of the Tri-Town plumbers, and anyone, if any, do not meet all the requirements, they will be notified by mail. That being said, there was no further business at that time. The meeting was adjourned at 5:55 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Ryan and the Board of Trustees. The historian report isn't a lot different. From last month, I've been writing these historical notes for the Hempstead Beacon, and I am in touch with a couple of school teachers who are requesting tours involving history here. I would also like to just put in a little word for the library board, because on it, which is that we are grateful for the beginning again of Sunday hours, which have started as of, I think, the middle of September. And also we are in the process of refuting a move by Macmillan and other very large publishers to make electronic books much more limitedly available to public libraries and much more expensive. So that's something that the board has created a resolution on and is fighting, because that's just not acceptable. So as far as the historian report goes, I continue to do the research, and I also am thinking of getting a grant if I can, possibly from New York Institute of Technology, where I'm an adjunct teacher, in order to write a longer and more detailed village history, particularly of the 20th century. So I'm kind of excited about trying to do that. And that's my report. Thank you.
Madam Historian and residents, just want to mention last Wednesday, the Nassau County Sports Hall of Fame elected two people from Hempstead High School: Ted Adams, coach; Alan Lowe, class of 1963. Previously, Lisa Smith, Rob Moore, Joe Blocker, and John Mackey are in. So we're well represented in Nassau County. Next year, they're going to make an emphasis to try to get old-timers. So we have two people from the 1920s that have been considered. Mary Washburn, who was an Olympian in 1928, the first year women could compete in the Olympics, and Leo Sexton, a gold medalist in the 1928 Olympics, 1932 Olympics, the Hempstead High School class of 1928. I just wanted to mention that to you.
If that information could be sent to me,
I'll get it to you.
yeah, I'll archive it, and I would maybe be able to write it up also in the committee.
That'd be great.
All right, thank you.
Now at this time, we're going to have Chairperson Shereen Vincent from the Hempstead Housing Authority come forward.
There is nothing to report tonight, Second Director.
Report of the village justice for the month of August of 2019 deals with total number of cases before the court, 2,301. Total monies remitted to the village controller, $209,249. Copy of this report is on file in the village clerk's office during regular business hours. Mayor Ryan and Deputy Mayor Renfro approves the miscellaneous license and permit applications as reviewed. Now we're going to move on to number 5. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice Vanderhold to authorize tax settlement, tax certiorari matter with Julian and Joan Polador for the property owned.
I put a question in how it's going to go on the agenda.
Mayor, stuff before the agenda.
Excuse me.
She had agenda. She had agenda items, questions before.
We didn't do it.
Sorry.
All right, Caprice Rhines?
Yes.
Back to how our people pick for, we have people up for county IDA. Now, I see, I'm not gonna open my mouth and insert my foot at his meeting. I'm trying to be nice. Now, you ask people to submit their resumes, and I know quite a few people that I know who have experience, who have degrees. Okay? Now, when was that? I come to all the meetings, don't I?
What?
I come to all the village meetings, practically most of the village meetings. When was a request made for people to submit their resumes for Nassau County IDA?
There was not.
Okay. Was that transparent? Were you all being transparent for that position? Was there transparency from this board for those positions?
Well, I know you submitted a resume for the...
That's not my, Mr. Mayor, no disrespect to you.
Right.
Was this board transparent in regards to submission for names for Nassau County IDA?
There wasn't a plan to actually have applications and letters submitted for that particular position.
I'm not saying a plan because we have a lot of people that live in this village and they have experience. And we keep putting people up for positions in this village that, and I'm saying this, we need people who are thinkers, who care for this village. And I'm saying people who have time, experience, care, concern, and who will work for the benefit, not just for the village, but for this county that we live in. And it's a name on there, and I'm not going to say what I don't care, that I feel that is not going to be for the interest of this village. And I'm very disturbed. And I'm disappointed. There should be transparency. And I don't like it. I live here. My grandparents came here from New York City, bought their homes here. And my family owns several houses in Nassau County. And if we're sending people to Nassau County, there should be a fair amount of equity of people that we're going to send from this village to Nassau County to represent the village of Hempstead. And I disagree. I don't think we should be voting on that tonight on the people that we're going to send if it's not fair. And I'm saying this because we keep using the same people over and over again, and it wasn't transparent. Whether you thought it through or you didn't plan it, it says to plan, not to plan is to fail, but to plan ahead is to succeed.
I got a letter in my mailbox about this, the bus terminal and stuff. We should not have to keep being reactive, we should be proactive. I'm disappointed, and I don't think that you should be voting on that tonight. Because I think you should allow people who have experience in these things, because I saw it happen at the town when we had poor representation for the village. And I'm saying this. It should not happen. We need people who want to serve not the interests of a party, but the interests of the people. It needs to stop. If we love where we live and we love the people, we're supposed to represent the people, not the interests of what we think for us. Because we have a problem here. I respect everyone up there. I might not agree with everything, but we can agree to disagree, but we're going to do what's best for the village and for this county. And I'm asking you, please do not submit those names until you are fair about your choices. But we have people sitting in positions right now who are not doing fair, they're not being fair about this village. Too much is going on in this village that shouldn't be happening. It needs to stop. And I'm imploring you, God is watching everything, and I know, Bishop, you know this. There is angels that are recording everything that you all do. And you're not answering for it now, you're going to answer for it later. Let's do what's right for this. Please, let's do right. I know that the 5 of you up there will. I have confidence in all 5 of you. And I'm saying that. I don't say that about anybody. I can say that about the last group. I can say that about you all.
Thank you.
I don't, please, I'm being very serious about this. Please, be transparent. That wasn't transparent when I saw that. I know I submitted my resume and I had a lot of experience and stuff. So let's do what's right.
Thank you.
And one other thing. There were people who did not come to give their reports tonight because they were at a lesson. They could have toggled the time and said, let's give a half an hour later for the Spanish lesson so they could come and give their report. They have an obligation to the community. I'm sorry, I think that was not disrespectful to the community.
Giving the report, if you'd like to do so at this time. Okay, let's move on.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice P. Vanderpool to authorize the settlement and taxation matter of Julianne and Joe Polidar for the property known as 281-285 Clinton Street in City, New York, and Florida, $302,500.
So moved.
Question. Just control. Do you have a running total certs that we basically agreed to, not that we shouldn't have agreed to though, but just how much it's cost us kind of year to date versus the budget?
I don't have what we've approved year to date. I have an estimate of where we are where we will be for the year. We're over that budget, but not all of them will come to fruition in this year. If you notice in here, the schedule of the payments, we are now trying to negotiate that they be spread out over multiple fiscal years as opposed to every 90 days during one fiscal year. So that should smooth out the payment over time, and we have to commit to tax certs rather than having a high year and a lower year. So that's in these agreements to bring the payments down into multiple years to soften that blow.
And as a component to many, I'm trying to connect the dots just in the name of transparency and connect the dots for the residents. As part of these, we understand that there's an assessment freeze that goes on for a period of 3 years.
That's a typical part of the agreement.
And then, so, just so the community knows, and you can agree if I'm right or wrong, please step up. Our tax levy
will still be the same, if not increases. So if these assessed values for the next 3 years stay flat, that difference still has to be paid, and it's paid by the residents. So a lot of what happens with these assessed values and these fighting of the assessed values is because of the fair market value of the properties around us. And if we don't do anything to improve around us, the tax burden will increasingly become on the backs of the residents, because the commercial property owners will grieve their taxes. They're winning because they don't have any tenants that are willing to pay rent to do work here. So we have to do something to stabilize our environment.
Stop people from buying houses and then
Let's leave the questions to the open mic now, please.
I don't know if I said that incorrectly.
No, Trustee Daniels is correct. If someone has a reduction, a commercial property has a reduction in their taxes, for instance, of say $10,000, that $10,000 doesn't reduce the levy. That $10,000 is going to be distributed over the other properties in the village. So a settlement of $10,000, a reduction of $10,000 in tax, that's not exactly the assessed value, but it's related. A reduction of $10,000 in tax to a commercial property means every other property owner will pay $1. Every other property owner to make up for that $10,000.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice P. Vanderhold, village attorney, that the organization settlement of tax certiorari matter, Richard L. Cohen Family LLC, the property known as 514-530, Peninsula Boulevard, Hempstead, New York, in total amount of $10,500.
Move. Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Sharice P. Vanderhold, village attorney, to approve the agreement with NCS Consultants LLC, and the village of Hempstead to provide security services, safeguard employees and visitors to village hall, and to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement on behalf of the village.
So move. Second.
Just a question in light of transparency. This agreement is through November of
Yeah, it's a month-to-month agreement. There's an RFP is forthcoming.
Thank you.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Sorry. Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Just to reiterate what you said, Trustee Daniels, Larry Let's have put out the RFP today, so we will submit to the trustees a copy of the RFP that we submitted. And it's due back by November 4th, 2019.
Sorry, by when?
It will be due back by November 4th, 2019. If Larry put all of the dates of the request when they have to be submitted and when they have to be returned to the village, but Larry lets you know who's our purchasing agent, who must submit it to the beacon first.
Did anybody, I'm assuming they did look at them?
Yes, Jack.
The actual-
Yes,
our-
we've
our-
read that.
Yeah, it's been reviewed and, yeah.
Thank you.
Clerk will file a resolution for adoption. That permission is hereby granted for the incorporated village of Hempstead to enter into an agreement with Alphamore LLC, 2571 East 17th Street, third floor, Brooklyn, New York, 11235, to grant parking license rights to parking 16 and incorporated village of Hempstead, commencing July 1, 2019 through May 31st, 2020. The mayor be and he hereby is authorized to execute the said agreement on behalf of the village of Hempstead on such terms and conditions that are acceptable to the village attorney.
So move.
I'll second the follow-up question if I can. Just the backdating of the agreement. Have they paid to date, or are they going to pay it once they sign?
Yes, they're up to date.
They're up to date already, so it's just starting from the, and the other question is, when I check, I don't see this firm or this LLC with a business license in the village. Do they have a business license in the village?
They should. Janice said yes, they do. This is the owner 50 claim, just so you know.
And the
Yes.
parking lot 16 is behind fire headquarters, and I believe there's 35 spaces being rented, $4 a day. If you project it out over 336 days, it's $4,276.
Correct me if I'm wrong, trustees, as part of their pilot agreement, weren't they supposed to fix the existing garage at 54?
It's still under construction, yes. And it's still under construction, which is why, so they initially wanted a short-term agreement. They had it before the trustees did approve it, but I believe it was 3 months, and they wanted to extend it, so I extended it for the entire year, because they're gonna have decals. But the status of the garage, because we did ask about that, is that it's still under construction, and that's why they need additional spaces.
Is it under construction, like, with an architect? Because there's nobody working on it. So, it's like, because before they were working on it, I don't see anybody working.
I have not been there during the week, so I can't say. Maybe Charlene could elaborate. I know that it has been blocked off on a Sunday when I attend church there. It has been blocked off, but I don't know what they're doing during the week, because I have not gone past.
Reverend Benjamin, you have something to offer?
I can answer that.
Fire away.
It is somebody working on it. Amazing contract is working. Jackman, the architect, is doing all the structural inspections. A large portion of that garage and the upper level will be repaired in the next month or so, and they're moving on from there. So I can't answer that question.
That's a local contractor.
Thank you.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Gary Wu, Deputy Village Treasurer, to settle the workers' compensation claim in a total amount of $32,868.78.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation that the clerk office will follow resolution for adoption that permission is hereby granted for the Hempstead Community School District 185 Peninsula Boulevard, Hempstead, New York, 11550 to hold a homecoming parade on Saturday, October 19, 2019, to step on from parking field number 1 at 10 a.m. There will be no cost for this parade. Said permission is contingent upon compliance with the rules and regulations of the Hempstead Police Department, and all liability in connection with the holding of this event and observance of the Code of the Village of Hempstead as it applies to group gatherings of this type. Filing of all appropriate insurance has been filed with the clerk's office, and the indemnification and execution of the whole harmless agreement on such terms and conditions that is acceptable to the village attorney.
So moved.
A second.
Trustee Johnson?
Abstain.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mayor Brown Ryan, the Board of Trustees hereby appoint Shelley Brinsley to the Nassau County Industrial Development Agency for reviewing applications and approving pilot agreements for projects located within the village of Hempstead.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Abstain.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
No.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Vote passed. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mayor Don Ryan, the board hereby appoints Eric Brindley to the Nassau County Industrial Development Agency when reviewing applications and approving pilot agreements for projects located within the village of Hempstead.
So moved.
Second.
Question. Does this individual live in Hempstead? And there was no address on any of the supporting information as it relates to the county.
Did you see the resume?
Yeah, it was like a LinkedIn post. I didn't see an address.
He lives on the 1 Street office.
Verification of that?
Yeah, been there
And when should we vote?
10 years ago.
Really, Mr. Mayor, honestly.
You made your comment, we respect it.
Really?
The board do the job that they're responsible for.
And you put this in, I'm very disappointed.
You
Very
can,
disappointed.
you can blame me and not the trustees.
No, so you said you made the recommendation. Very disappointed.
Let's move to.
And I guess my second question is, aren't there business ties to this individual?
Business things.
Correct.
Can you be a little bit more succinct?
Do you have business ties?
No.
I used to.
Oh, really? Wow. It's really not transparent.
Please, please.
It's not good. I'm gonna test.
But I understand that, but after you've made your point and we respect that, let the business of the evening take place.
You're not respecting it. You didn't give it
Only
to the
because we
public.
didn't follow your advice, it doesn't mean
No,
we
we
don't
didn't give
respect
it to
it.
the public. Mr.
Let's go
Mayor.
forward, please.
We didn't give it to,
Please.
Mr. Figueroa,
Please.
come on.
Please.
Come on.
You said you weren't going to mention names.
No, I'm mentioning it now because you didn't pull it.
Why don't we,
You didn't pull it.
we're not going to do it, I'm
You
going to
didn't
say.
pull it.
Please.
You should have pulled it and gave it to the
Come on,
public.
you know you can't yell out like that. We
No,
understand
I'm
what you're
yelling out because
saying.
you should've.
But you can't do that. You're interrupting the whole
And
meeting.
even his own trustee have a question about somebody on it. Pull it.
But you
All of the
can't-
trustees are allowed to ask a question. Let's move forward to the vote, please, after the
Trustee
questions. have been
Johnson?
resolved.
No.
You give you respect. You give you respect. You should pull
Trustee Hobbs?
No.
Trustee Daniels?
No.
Trustee Renfro?
Abstain.
Mayor?
Yes.
Vote failed. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mayor John Ryan, the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Louis Figueroa to the Nassau County IDA agency when reviewing applications including pilot groups and projects located within the village of Hempstead.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mayor John Ryan, the Board of Trustees hereby appoints William Hobbs Jr. to the Nassau County IDA agency for reviewing applications and approving pilot use and projects located in the village of Hempstead.
So moved.
I'll second with the question that I should have actually asked on the other previous. In these resolutions, who are you removing? You don't state who you're removing. There is an existing board, representatives of Hempstead on the existing Nassau IDA board. And this resolution just adds people, but it doesn't remove the people that are there. So I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that you're removing people that are there by adding.
We never found a resolution where, four Village of Hempstead members were appointed to this current IDA board. I know someone that was appointed previously by Mayor Hall did mention that to me. She sent me a copy of the resolution at that time, and I believe it was like 2013, but we never found a resolution where there was members appointed to this board. This, when I say this board, yeah, County Executive, Laura Curran appointed a new board that Mangano had.
But that doesn't change who's sitting the representatives on Hempstead.
Are you suggesting there's somebody from the village of Hempstead sitting on the board?
There was representation from the village of Hempstead on the Nassau County IDA board.
But you said there was. I'm saying, is there anyone currently sitting?
Because they were never removed. There was never anybody removed. There was never a resolution to remove these people off of that board. But now you're adding people to it, and you can only add 4. So who are you removing when you're bringing a resolution?
So we never found a resolution for this current board, and Chairman Castle of the IDA board took the position that there were not 4 members from the village of Hempstead on this current board.
Are there any members?
No. Not from the village of Hempstead. That's the position that they took. But I understand what Trustee Daniels was saying.
I've talked to Commissioner Richard Kessel, and what we're doing is in concert with the way he wants to go forward. And it's also something I believe we can go back to the Deputy Speaker, who wanted representation from Hempstead and Freeport when an issue dealing with that community is at hand. So only then do they sit, and only in those issues dealing with the village do they vote.
I understand that, that's not relevant. What's relevant is that there's a certain amount of members that were appointed. We can't find a resolution. They were sitting on the board, so there had to be some kind of resolution to get them on there. And there has not been anything to remove them, nor has there been anything to substitute them. And we're putting forth resolutions to add people to it, but we're not in that same resolution removing specific members off of it.
I'm not so sure. Well, we're not removing anybody from the board from the village of Hempstead. There is nobody from the village of Hempstead on the board as they currently sit. So this is actually in concert with what they've asked us to do, and I believe we should move the vote.
That doesn't make it legal.
Who's the odd number member?
That doesn't make it legal. So for instance then, so you're saying that in your theory, what you're saying is that there's an open seat.
In my opinion, we've been asked to sit 4 people, and that's what we're in the process of doing. I ask us to move the vote.
Trustee Johnson?
No, it makes no sense.
Trustee Hobbs?
Same.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Vote passed.
May I ask a question? Who are the members of the board then? Who, with this new vote, with the new vote that's passing, who are the members that sit, the Hempstead community members that sit on the IDA board?
Limited to the last 4 people. We just, or 3 people that we just approved.
So then the person that was on there before, which person still stays and which person goes?
I'm not, you keep referencing somebody from Hempstead's on the board. I think we can conclude there is no one from the board.
How are you concluding that?
Because when I talked to Richard Kessel, the commissioner, he asked us to seek 4 Hempstead residents. So that's what we're in the process of doing.
Asking to seek 4 residents doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't people on the board currently. That just means you're saying, are you going to appoint?
Could you name the Hempstead resident who sits on that board?
It was Assessor Hargrave.
But you said was. I mean, presently.
Presently and was, I'll use as the same. Does that clear up any confusion that you have?
That confuses me more.
Okay.
Presently and was are in conflict with each other. All right, let's move on.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Lisa Barrington, Director of Human Resources, to authorize the appointment of a new hire as a full-time employee of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Joseph Acquisitive Lives, 99 James A. Garden Way, Hempstead, New York. New hire, Department DPW, Water and Sewer Department, title Water and Sewer Service KE, grade 107/0, new, salary $53,141 upon civil service approval.
So moved.
Trustee Johnson?
I have a question. Is that a Hempstead resident?
We learned that he was. We learned that he was. I asked Lisa Barrington, and she said he was.
Was or is?
He is.
Thank you.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro? Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Clerk will the following resolution for adoption, authorizing the appointment of and or salary changes for certain full-time and part-time employees for the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Hakeem McCain, 99 James A. Garden Way, Hempstead, New York, part-time to full-time, Department of Parks and Recreation, title laborer, grade 104/0, new salary $51,190.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Question, is he a Hempstead resident?
Yes.
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 Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Also, I want to state that Akeem was one of our seasonal employees who came on with us. Congratulations to Akeem. Resolved that upon the recommendation of the Samaritan Director of Human Resources to authorize the appointment of seasonal hire to be hired as part-time employee of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Katie Chicas, 99 James A. Garner Way, Hempstead, New York, seasonal to part-time, Department, Village Court, title, type of split, part-time, grade, part-time, salary, $14.91 per hour upon civil service approval.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Katie is another seasonal part-time worker that we hired this summer. We hired part-time. Clerk Office of Following Resolution for Adoption, resolved that upon the recommendation of Lisa Barrington, Director of Human Resources, to authorize the appointment of seasonal to be hired as a part-time employee of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Ashley C. Fletcher, 99 James A. Broadway, Hempstead, New York, seasonal to part-time, department, title clerk, with the Board of Trustees, salary $14.91 per hour upon approval.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Let me think about this for a minute. Yes, but I'd also like to say that Ashley worked for me a couple of years ago. And
Stand up,
they
Ashley.
often talk about,
Stand up.
stand up, Ashley, yes. Let them see you. They often talk about in Hempstead when you cannot find young people that are qualified to do things here in Hempstead.
That's not true.
I don't think we do enough looking.
Thank you.
Because this young lady here is definitely a first-class irate #1.
Yes.
Intelligent, always pleasant, even always on time. So I think I'll just give your grandmother a shout out, your mother, all of you guys. So on that note, my vote is yes.
No surprise. Yes.
I also wanted to say to all of the seasonal helps, you all did a great job, and Ashley worked very closely with us in the clerk's office, the mayor's office, and for the board of trustees, and she did a great job, as well as Katie. Really, it was actually 4 of them being hired tonight. So I just wanted to.
Hold up a minute.
Somebody spilled the water.
Daniels had an accident.
Oh, shit.
Okay, go ahead, I'll stand up.
So Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mr. Barrington, Director of Human Resources, to authorize the appointment of seasonal hire to be part-time employee of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Jimmy Alvarenga, 99 James Broadway, Hempstead, seasonal to part-time, Department Water Plant, title labor, part-time, salary $14.91 per hour upon civil service approval.
Move. Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, Mayor, but I want to say to the community, these children did a great job. I see Ralph is here as well, supportive, and other departmental heads are here to be supportive of the seasonal hires. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for working with us, with the children. They did so well when it came to interviewing. And I interviewed 139 of them, and they did a great job. And I just wanted to say congratulations to the departmental heads as well as to the children.
Also good to thank you for your love too in that process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have another one. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mr. Barrington, Director of Human Resources, to authorize the appointment of a seasonal to be hired as a part-time employee of the Incorporated Village of Hempstead, Darrell Williams.
Move.
99 James A. Garnaway, Hempstead, New York, seasonal to part-time, Department of DPW Streets, labor, title, salary, $14.91 per hour, upon civil service approval.
Move.
Second.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
And I see his family is here to be supportive of him as well, to the Watsons, and thank you so much. Darrell did a great job as well, and our Department of Public Works, thank you so much. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Mayor Ryan and the Board of Trustees, they do hereby approve the Hempstead Fire Department, this is addendum 1, everyone. The fire council minutes dated September 25th, 2019 to be approved.
So move.
Wait, did you do the bills already? You did that last. You did that last. Oh, sorry. I don't have that. It's approved.
This is an addendum item, the Hempstead Fire Department Fire Council, the mayor, if you would like to elaborate the reason why this council minutes is on.
I'll defer to Trustee Hobbs, who, along with myself and others, attended the conference up in Saratoga. And one of the things that he brought out from the meeting is what we are now going to hear.
Volunteer fire department, although they have a fire council, whatever decisions they make as far as bringing in new members, fundraisers, has to be ratified by the Board of Trustees. So what we're doing is we're approving their minutes.
Need a second?
Are we asking questions yet, or second?
I can second.
Second.
Can we table this? I mean,
It's law. This is what we have to do.
I want to at least be able to.
It's the law. If you look at the municipal law when it comes to the fire department, it has to be approved. That's what we attended NICOM. That's what we got in NICOM.
Are you just not getting the minutes that way? Yeah, I don't even have them. Right, so it's part of the village law.
So we could table this, but it's the municipal law.
If Trustee Daniels needs time to see that, which he just had a moment, we can table to the next meeting, and he'll have a chance to look at the law.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 1 has been tabled. Agenda item number 2. Resolved that upon the recommendation of Trustee Jeffrey Daniels, the Board of Trustees hereby appoints Stacy Hargraves, village assessor to Nassau County Industrial Development Agency, and reviewing applications and approving timing fees for such projects located within the village of Hempstead.
I'm sorry.
Previously on it. Wasn't sure where you on it.
Just an addendum item which you made.
We just received this addendum item when the meeting started at 6:30.
No, just legal is discussing this matter. Let's give them an opportunity. Pardon?
We're going to table it to the next meeting.
You withdrawn that? Okay, it's tabled as well. Yeah. Let's go to the open
Item
mic.
number 2 has been tabled. We only have one more item, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Item 3?
No, it's going to be the insurance, the warrants and bills. Clerk offers the following resolution for adoption that all meeting bills, including social insurance funds, ordered by the Board of Trustees and check warrant dated October 1, 2019, approved as previously reviewed.
So move.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes. All right, let's go to the open mic. I would like to make the following comment, though. I did meet with the president of NICE, because some comments have been made about the transit center in the village of Hempstead and the Rosa Parks Transit Center. There are no plans to relocate the depot nor downplay its role in delivering transportation solutions to our residents. The village of Hempstead will continue to be the heart of our transportation network. So the rumor is from his perspective, and I concur with, is false.
Is that in the past or now?
I just remember this.
I mean, that was in the past.
Oh, I met with him the day after the comment was made. Passed, if you mean last week, yes. President enough to be considered viable condition? Clearly, yes. Early states?
Greetings, peace and blessings. I have a question before you start the timer. If I ask a question, will my time be running while you answer it? It's been a while, so I don't
We
know.
won't comment until you finish.
Okay. Could someone please explain to me the procedure of the reimbursement of the Medicare checks?
It's done quarterly. Is your check late?
I would like to know the process.
We have a list of retirees. We go off that list each quarter, determine the correct amount to reimburse, and then the checks are issued quarterly.
That's not what I was looking for. What is the step-by-step stage from the time that you check out the amount of money to the time that you mail it?
I'd be happy to talk with you outside the meeting if you want to go into that kind of detail.
You can start my 3 minutes now, please. Now, the border. I'd like to tell you this. Since Janet has left, and since, I forgot her name, the one that BB replaced.
Sylvia.
My checks, thank you.
Murphy?
My checks have been late. I don't know about anybody else's, but I'm asking, telling to you about my checks. Now, I would like to know what the procedure is, because I have arranged for a bill to be paid by that check quarterly. And I have, this year, have been late. Now, I didn't get this month's check until Saturday. So I want to know what the procedure is. What is the standard? When I called to ask why it was late, BB said she couldn't tell me. I called your office. I got one return call, and then still my question wasn't answered as to why my check was late. And I'm still not getting an answer.
Well, check into it. This is the first I've heard of it.
This is the fourth time.
And you said you got paid Saturday for this month. You mean Saturday for September?
Yes.
Okay, so last month.
When Janet and Sylvia was here,
Mr. Murphy.
no later than the second week of each month. So that's why I want to know what is the procedure. Because 1 month it was late because the person who was supposed to be handling it went on vacation. So nothing was done until she came back from vacation. I don't think that's right.
We'll have to look into it. You don't have a phone number here. So
No.
if you want to give me a call, we'll check it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Regis Thompson.
Good morning, or good evening, I should say, Mayor and trustees.
Good evening.
I'm here because I'm really very concerned about our senior population. in the village of Hempstead. I've made several calls to the police department, the community police, because the facility in which I live at, 20 Times Street, has a serious traffic problem. It's been going on for some time. I brought it to the attention of our executive board. They said we don't have enough money for full-time security. I don't know if they're waiting for a senior to be murdered and to be placed on the local channels, but we have a serious issue. We can't continue to wait until the money reappears that disappeared from the budget. We have a serious issue, and I'm coming to this board meeting because other seniors are afraid to leave the building at night because they don't know if they're going to be able to get back in. I think that it has to be looked at with the executive director and the commissioners of the Hempstead Housing Authority in a serious manner, because it is serious. That's my point tonight. I've mentioned it all over town. We have a serious problem. And it can just not be, oh, well, I'm gonna wait till the person is murdered before we address the situation. We need 24-hour security in the building. Anyone, if you go there now, they can go in any time of the night. And the security system that we have, he doesn't come in until 10 o'clock and maybe stay until 2 o'clock. Well, whatever happened during the day is done already. So we need support, and that's the reason I'm here this evening. Thank you for your time.
Well, we have the executive director of housing here. She didn't have a report, but maybe she could speak on that.
Sure.
This is Ms. Goodson, everybody. Thank you.
How are
Thank you for the mic.
So, she's correct. We have one shift from 10 to 3. When I crunched the numbers to see how much it would cost us to get a 2-man team for 18 hours, not 24 hours, because we are there sometimes during the day, our work day, it crunched to maybe like $217,000. That's something that the Housing Authority just can't do right now. So one of the things that we have talked, community police have come, I've talked to, I forget his last name, I forget with the E, with community policing, who said they were going to come and do verticals for us. You know, they did it for a little while, tried to reach out, haven't had any verticals since. I know that we have a nonprofit that comes in from the SD, Community Development of Long Island, and she does a lot of community policing and having them come in and talk to our community members just to see how they can keep themselves safe. One of the other things that we have right now is that I have worked with one of the trustees here. Excuse me?
No, I'm trying to hear you, but.
Okay. So I have one of the trustees, as you know, Trustee Hobbs has reached out to work with us also, to have someone specifically from the police department to work with us to make sure that we can clean up what we have going on. One of the things I'm trying to look into is trying to look for another security agency to come in. The person who just spoke tonight gave me some information about a group that also right now does 155 Greenwich. So I'm looking to possibly see what they use. I have talked to our security that we have now to see how we can improve our security. With that being at 260, we know that there's 2 lobbies. There's a lower lobby that really is not manned, so I'm trying to get another person to at least be down there during that shift for that lobby down there. It's not a buzzer, but one of the things that happens is some of the tenants will let people in. Other people who don't, there are people who aren't tenants who will keep the door ajar. It's very daunting, but we are working toward that. We have monies put aside in case we didn't receive the safety and security grant that we went for. From my understanding, a lot of people went for that particular grant because it's all of public housing. As long as everyone did all the qualifications that needed to be done for the grant, it goes into a pool and the names get pulled. That's just how they do it. and our name wasn't pulled. But what I did was I made sure that we had some money to put to the side in case that wasn't the case, to get some of those things in motion. One of the things that I'm trying to do at times is to change the whole entire file system. Because the file system is old, it's antiquated, there's keys, it's just a lot going on. So if we can just start, you know, just have to finish that, get that out of the way, no more of that, and do something better, that's what we're trying to do. So I had 2 firms that have come in, who have given me quotes on what our needs are. So now I have to now look at that and see which one we might be able to decide when we have folks. The next meeting of my board of directors will vote on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Patricia McNeil.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Board.
Good evening.
The pool at Kennedy Park,
Yes.
it's 40 years old. We can't find anyone to properly fix it. They can't even properly identify what the problem is. What about replacement? Nothing lasts forever. 40 years, and the pool is just not working. We haven't been able to get it fixed. We haven't been able to identify what the issue is. We've had a few different people in. They haven't gotten to the meat and potatoes of it. So we're wasting money, we're wasting time. The pool is 40 years old. Didn't we come across some money that wasn't in the budget that we hadn't planned on? Why can't we use that for the pool? The police. I thought once we signed a contract with North Shore University Hospital for the EMT services, we wouldn't need Hempstead Police. Well, I live in a block where the senior citizen building is at, and there's 2 police cars when the EMT comes. Why? I thought that's supposed to free up our police officers from responding to these calls, but to have 2, I can understand 1 car, but 2 different cars? I don't understand why 2 police cars need to be there when you have the EMT there. Third, programs for students when there's no school. Mostly everyone on this board, except for Mr. Daniels, have been on the school board or worked with the school. We should care about our kids. When our kids have days off from school, like today and yesterday, what programs do we have at Kennedy Park to offer the students to go during the day? Parents still have to work. Students need some place to go to. It's something to do that's productive. I went up there, they said, well, we have basketball. Not everyone plays basketball. We need basketball, soccer, and skateboarding. Not for nothing, but usually males are more into those 3 sports than women, than females. But we need to have something productive, and it needs to be brought out to the community, what we have to offer. Everyone says they care about our students first, we care about our youth. Well, it doesn't appear to, because no one's using the park, because we have no idea what's going on. And I was originally told that the parks were closed to the students till after 3 o'clock, but I went up there today myself and I saw no, the park was open for the students. But there's nothing for them to do, it's just 4 walls. It's not very welcoming, and we have no idea what to do with them if they came. And the last thing is the saturation point of the homes, or the sober homes. When you went up to Albany, you were supposed to check into that. But the sober homes, the shelters, what point are we at? Where are we at in trying to figure out what the saturation point is? What information were you able to come back with?
Okay.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, no, I did indeed talk to Wade Beltramo regarding the saturation of group homes during my visit to Saratoga. And he did give us some information that we have responded to, and we're now asking for all the information, because obviously we need to be specific when we make our complaint in that process. So we did get information from him as well as a backup plan, but we're still on plan A.
I can give you just a little update on it. So Wade referred us to the State Office of Persons with Disabilities. So I did reach out to Region 5, which is over in Nassau County, and we requested a list of all the homes that are at least OWDD homes, so we can match those up with the ones that we know of in the village. Apparently, we are supposed to get notice, at least the village is supposed to get notice, the mayor is supposed to get notice when a home is started here in the village. We have not been getting any notices. So I requested a list, I'm waiting on that list to see whether there's been some type of hiccup somewhere to find out where we are with those numbers, and if some of the homes that people have noticed aren't OWDD homes, maybe they belong to some other agency and we can figure out what the number is. before we make the saturation argument, we have to have the hardcore numbers. So we'll know what the state numbers are hopefully within the next week.
Okay, so maybe by the new year, we'll have some kind of idea.
I would like to know where we're at before then. The saturation argument comes in when they apply for zoning licenses. The zoning board can deny a variance based on saturation, but they need that information. So once I get that information, I can provide it to the zoning board if any other homes are applying for any type of license or variance.
Okay.
But
the pool, sorry.
Those aren't permitted uses.
That's just the thing. I've learned about them mostly through the board meetings. I don't know that the zoning board has been presented with any of them.
Right, so that's to my point, that saturation or no saturation, that if you're running a halfway house, sober house, whatever, in a residential A or residential B, whatever, that's not a permitted use under the village code. So if they're there and they don't have a permit, they have to go through the process to the zoning board of appeals.
So the state isn't the sober homes. The state is homes with people with disabilities.
You know, the sober homes, and we have a couple indeed in Hempstead outside of this responsibility. And I should have described to Wade Beltramo, as he's the lead attorney for NICOM, New York Council of Mayors.
Right.
That still makes it a zoning issue, though. It's not a saturation issue.
Well, we're all on the same side here. We want to figure out some way that we can show exactly what's here, maybe make the claim that it's a saturation point, and see if we can't get it close.
If you have a saturation point, it still has to be has to be legal according to our jurisdiction.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I understand what
New York
trustee.
State does something, they overrule us at the village level. And what's we've found in the past, and we hope this is going to solve the problem, is that each of the group homes take on a unique description.
That's not.
But we don't seem to know.
That's not entirely accurate. I know what Trustee Daniels is saying, but I'm not sure what the code says and what types of homes these are. So we need to find out what that is. These homes may not even be registered as some type of group home, sober home, or what have you. We're learning about them literally when the residents come up and say, the home 2 doors down the block from me is running as a group home. Right, that's how we're finding out about it. So when they come to us, we can absolutely deny it, it's not gonna happen. But we're finding out about them through the residents.
But we haven't been able to do that, because Mr. Mayor came to me to tell me about one on my block, and we were not able to stop it. It still went through. So
When you say went through, that's the question. When you say went through,
they still proceed on, and it's functioning.
So if the addresses that we know that we think is operating something, we have a right, if it's not a permitted use in that zone, to go knock on the door and issue a citation of operating that type of facility in a wrong zone, and they have to go through the zoning board of appeals to get approval to that state or no state. If they get denied, see you later.
And what happens with the police? The police are always on my block for the group homes, the men's shelter we have there. They're there constantly. When is enough enough? When is enough enough? They're there on a regular basis. We might have a police officer on the block.
Well, we'll ask Chief Hogan if you can get a list of all the calls to, what is the number?
I don't know the address. I have to look.
What's the street?
It's Cruikshank. C-R-U-I-K-S-H-A-N-K.
Once we can get information like that, that'll help us.
Because they still there. It's crazy.
Okay.
So what's the response to the pool? We haven't been able to find someone to fix it. We keep searching. What about replacement? Nothing lasts forever. If we have a pool, we know that after a while, maintenance is out of off the track. It's time to replace. What about that idea?
We had made an effort to repair it because obviously it wasn't working. The individual who first did it was unable to come up with a solution, even though we emptied the pool and did what we were told. The second individual feared that he could possibly do it, but it would impact the use of the 2 pools that were now effective. So we had to make a decision to wait till the pool season is over and make a more thorough search, or run the risk that we'd lose 2 of the 3 pools that are still operating. So we'll have to go back to the board. We do have 2 of our trustees assigned to the Recreation Board. That and your good question about programs during recess, they can put on the table.
All right, because don't we have a program director over at Kennedy Park?
Sure.
Right, so where are the programs? What programs, there's nothing?
No, I think you were
There's nothing-
limiting your comment to the programs during recess. And
Right, we
it's a
need,
good
right, when the
comment.
kids are out of school, whether it's 1 day or 2 days,
Right.
there's something that needs to be done. They can come to the park and have some programs, and we need to get the word out. I don't know whether we need to do a survey to find out what the students are interested in, because what I was interested in, you were interested in, they're not interested in that. So we need to find out what.
No, it's a valuable point, and we'll pursue it.
Okay, and what about the ruling, why would we have 2 police cars? The answer was EMT, for EMT call, when North Shore is there. Why do we need 2 Hempstead police
I'm gonna
officers
have
cars?
to turn this over to you.
This happened about 3 weeks ago?
Right. The contract that we have with Northwell Health frees up the police officers from actually operating the ambulance to the hospital. The police respond on every medical call for assistance. Okay. Sometimes, due to the nature of the ailment, the manpower requirement goes up. If it's certain emotionally disturbed persons, that requires a 2-man call. So, yeah, it is appropriate at times for 2 persons to respond, but at all times will at least one police officer respond. What our contract does is it frees them up. They don't have to drive the ambulance to the hospital, so they get back in service much quicker.
So, Mr. Mayor, the bottom line is my block is a very busy block with the police for one reason or another, and it's nothing positive. So that doesn't help us at all. We need services, and we need to somehow put a cap on all the negativity that's going on with these sober home, group homes, shelters, whatever they are. I understand that seniors are there, and we must service them. I'm a senior myself, so I definitely understand that. But we just can't carry everything. We cannot, and we need your guys' support. We really do.
Good question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Renee?
Good evening again. This is a question that I've asked before, and I don't know enough about what can be done, but I just want to re-present it, and that is that one thing that I think would help more investment be of interest would be if the village just looked better in places, and like in the north of the village, the contrast from Garden City, which is so green, is very stark once you cross the border, and that northern part is the business part. I guess my question is, can the village not place and perhaps enforce some kind of a code that would demand that business owners do something to green up the place and to just make their own storefronts look better? Long ago I had a dance studio, really long ago, when I was in dance, that was placed in Reston, Virginia, and I had to follow rather strict signage codes. So I'm just wondering if that could at least come under discussion. I'm very excited to learn from Charlene of the park that's being placed down at Main and Front. Would like to encourage the board, whatever people can do to support an effort to simply make the place look a lot better. I think it would help.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd just like to mention about the group homes, because Irving Hooper Hill was here last meeting and saying before you go to NICOM, find out what your saturation is. And so I have a question, because I hopped over to the library after the meeting and I asked, isn't there some kind of listing somewhere? And the librarian that happened to be on duty, the reference librarian, seemed to be pretty knowledgeable about it. And she delineated between temporary housing or shelter housing and group homes. The temporary housing, the shelter housing, that's I think funded by Nassau County, and I actually photographed a list that they have up on their bulletin board, and that changes month to month. And she was trying to explain that to me. But that's different from a halfway house or some kind of group home made for a certain group. And so I wondered if that distinction is being made in the search to figure out.
Yes.
If we're
It was referenced by Wayville County.
Yes.
Okay, are the shelter, the Nassau County temporary housing, are those actually in the category of the group homes like what you said?
No, not what we're discussing here. We're talking about transient housing, not shelters or safe centers.
So,
why would we?
I'm sorry, what is the difference between transient housing and, like, a friend of mine, actually down the street from me, she and her family were finally evicted from their house after something like 10 years of not really being able to pay mortgage. And
It's temporary housing. That's temporary.
It's called temporary housing, but that's not transient housing?
No.
Okay. What's transient housing?
If you don't mind, I can just show it to you in the code after the board meeting. I'll print it for you.
All right, thanks a lot.
So are we saying we have a
I
list
should
of the
mention too
shelters?
that Barbara Baum is in charge of the beautification in the village. She's a volunteer. She's looking for additional volunteers. Get that name and address either to Reggie or myself or any of the other trustees here. We'll get it to her and she'll appreciate that, and we all will. Thank you. Next is Reverend LaPierre.
Forgive me, my list is what my name is, what you.
Good evening, Mayor Don Ryan, Trustee Lamont, Trustee Hall, Trustee Principal, and Trustee Bell. My question I just want to ask concerning the zombie houses. Is there any way you can explain what's going on with the zombie houses?
Is Reverend Easley still back there? There was a meeting on zombie homes recently attended by the two trustees that flanked me, so let me defer.
You want to start? You can start. Ask your question. Could you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We would like you to repeat the question.
Repeat it.
I was asking concerning the zombie houses that you see against that. I believe those are foreclosed houses or the bank-owned houses, houses that,
The zombie homes or the
zombie homes, yes.
I'm not sure, are the zombie homes, I'm sorry, Commissioner?
Those.
Question for you. Does the bank own the zombie homes also?
Is that I'm not saying who owns whatever. I'm saying Hempstead has zombie homes. You know the houses
Yes, we do. Quite a few.
Now, what I'm asking is that, what are they doing about, if someone might be interested in about, how would a person go about, looking into the zombie house?
Well, I think.
I know you guys all got homes, but
Well, that doesn't make it.
but I'm trying to get information. I've been hearing that for a long while, even with, she's not here anymore, a similarly woman, Ernie Hooper, at the time talked about the zombie house, So I'm just trying to get information about it.
Right, so.
If you have any information, I want to know.
Okay, so.
Everybody don't,
So on the village level, we have what's called a zombie home task force. And what they're doing is they're comprising a list of homes, whether it might have been foreclosed or it's just, the owners might have walked away, it's abandoned. And so we have an inspector that through the CDA goes around and inspect these houses on the list. And if we find that someone has broken into the house, we call the building department to make sure that we get a company to come in to board it up. On the village level, with CDA, they're looking to possibly be able to, and there's still things that we have to do, to turn over some of these homes and get them back on the tax roll. But of course, it can't be a home that the bank owns. We just can't take it away from the bank. So there's, a bidding, and a lot of times I found out in that meetings, There are some houses that they had an opportunity, they was going to try to get back on the tax roll, but then the bank realized that they could get more money if they put it up for auction. And so we're dealing with that. So we're just in the process of trying to comprise that list. But I want to say on the village level, we're not real estate agents. So even when it comes to zombie homes, it's not the village responsibility to tell the residents, you know, go to whatever courthouse and bid on the house. You have to do that research yourself.
You know, the county of Hempstead, they had, as a matter of fact, a few, I think it was in Roosevelt, you know, concerning the zombie homes, you know. So, and I think there was also, I saw in the news somewhere out in, not Brentwood, you know, different locations.
Right, so again, like you said,
Hempstead don't have nothing, so you're saying.
What we're doing on the village level, what we're trying to do on the village level is through our CDA, be able to get some of the homes back on the tax roll by offering, you know, first-time buyers, whatever incentive they're trying to put together, but we're still working on it. That's the extent of what the village does.
So, Reverend Lafayette, your question was, how can you buy one of these homes, is that correct?
Yes, you know, how to go by, you know, like, you know, be interested in, you know.
Right, so I don't really know the steps or the procedure for buying those homes for individuals unless you go to the steps like Trustee said, you have to bid on the homes.
Well, I understand the bidding,
Right,
I know what you're talking about with that one, you know, but I'm saying if there are the homes available, you know, for any resident here in Hempstead, you know, concerning, you know.
We don't own them, the bank owns them. So it's not like we can say, come on, buy this house.
So what do the CDA board mean? What is your,
I told you they're trying to find some of these homes that they can bid on, win the bid, and put it back on the tax. They have to do the same thing. We just can't take the house.
No, I understand that, I understand that.
Okay,
So you might want the list is that what you're looking for, the list?
Yeah, you know, like where, who you call, how you get in contact, explain, you know, information about the house.
Commissioner, would you like to come in to this discussion? No.
I can do my own homework.
Zombie homes is sometimes misidentified.
But if you give me information about it.
You
Not
can probably
every
contact
house
the county
is
sheriff's
zombie
office.
Huh?
The county sheriff's office is responsible for the auction of property.
You said
Nassau
me?
County. Nassau County, the county sheriff is responsible for the auction.
So you say go to 240 Old Country Road.
They also have to advertise
Those are
in the
for
newspaper.
those are for
They
foreclosed
do it on the steps
That's
of
the
240
foreclosure
Country
sale.
Road. You're allowed to bid. We don't own those homes, but the zombie homes can be mortgaged, impaired, and abandoned. There are many homes that are abandoned, that are not zombies, but they're abandoned homes and a concern, particularly when squatters get into them. They're difficult to
But
get
you
out.
remember back when they was talking about the zombie homes up on the Assemblywoman Early Hoop at that time? Because there was some zombie houses over there on the, not on the heights, off of Jerusalem Avenue. There was a couple of them where it was boarded up, and then she even did a press conference over there at that time concerning the zombie home. You don't remember the word zombie home? Y'all don't remember that? Y'all don't know what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah, of course, but not every abandoned home is a zombie home. By definition, have to be mortgaged, impaired, and abandoned.
And when I use the word y'all own got your home, meaning that I know y'all own your home. I'm not saying, you know, I mean, I'm trying to find out. I used to own a home, but I want to own another one.
But we don't have the homes to sell to you. At 240 Old Country Road, on the steps, they do bid. And many people out there, you'll see it, people buy early in the morning for homes that the mortgage is so past due that the public is eligible.
What did you say?
If you'd like me to come up, I can address.
Yeah, that was hoping you would, Commissioner. This is your.
If I may.
Yeah.
So through the Zombie Homes Task Force, we did receive a grant through the state, through the Attorney General's office, but what we do is just try to manage and maintain the safety of those abandoned and vacant homes. Zombie homes by New York State is defined as abandoned and vacant and mortgage encumbered. That means typically that a homeowner does own it, maybe the homeowner died, or they relocated, they were underwater and they walked away, or it was foreclosed upon. For whatever reason, that home is now abandoned. So what we do through the CDA and through the task force is we monitor those homes up. There's a state list that comes up that we get some of the names from, and then we have an inspector that goes around and actually physically looks at all the houses within the village and adds to that list. And the responsibility through the task force is just making sure that those homes are safe, and if there's any damage, or if it seems like someone's breaking in or squatting, we get them properly boarded up, we notify whoever the owners are, and if they're not maintained, like the grass is too high, et cetera, we will work with the building department to issue violations and citations. Now, what the CDA is also trying to do, or have been trying to do over the last year, is when appropriate, try to purchase some of those homes, whether it be through negotiating with the owner for a short sale, or working with the bank to try to purchase that. Unfortunately, that has not been successful because the banks, there are bidding wars going on over at 100 County Seat. 100 Supreme Court Drive is actually where the auctions take place. And if you go to the Beacon Weekly and look at the legal notices, you'll see a list of the houses. The majority of the houses listed are from the village of Hempstead. And so if you're interested in trying to go to 100 Supreme Court Drive and bid on those, that's one opportunity. Whatever houses that the village, the CDA may end up buying and rehabilitating or building ourselves will be made available only through a lottery. We don't negotiate with individuals. You have to qualify and put your name in the lottery, and it will be at random that you'd be selected if you're eligible to purchase those homes through the lottery.
So the only way that she can purchase this home is to go to New York?
Or negotiate with the owner.
Or negotiate with the owner, okay, that's what
If
I
you
mean.
can find them.
Huh?
If you can find the owner,
Yeah,
that's part of the problem.
yeah, that's a major
The big
concern.
part of the problem.
Thank you,
Makes it
Commissioner,
sound-
and thank you, Reverend. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Reginald Lucas?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and trustees again.
Good evening.
Okay, I really want to update on crime in the village of Hempstead, including violent crimes and robberies. And also, I'd like to get an update on shot spotters. And I'd also like to get an idea of the procedure on abandoned cars that's parked in the street. What is the procedure, and how long can it be parked in the street and be abandoned? Towing. When can a car be towed, for whatever reason? Also, there was some on Hope Street. There was a house that was broken into 3 times where a person was trying to do some work in the house and they stole his tools. I'd like to know, do you have a record of that? So we can start with those.
Okay, the crime in the village, overall right now, we're looking at a 5-year average of a 19% decrease in overall total major crime. That's over our 5-year average. Okay, from this time, year to date, compared to last year, year to date, it's just under 10% decrease in total major crime overall in the village. Unfortunately, at the moment, our robberies have escalated as of recently. We're working on trying to get that under control. Regarding shot spot alert, in the last 2 weeks, we have had 13 shot spot alerts. 7 of them have been attributed false alerts due to the 2 pistol ranges that are located on the south end of the village. None of those have been confirmed shootings in the last 2 weeks.
All right, so what you're saying is the ones that was saying from the pistol range, it was done in the daytime?
Yes, not between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's the operating hours of the pistol range.
Okay. See, the reason why I asked for the update on crimes, because I understand there were a couple of crimes on Main Street where a person was robbed with a chain, and one of the weapons that was used was a wrench or something like that, beat him up with a wrench. And another one was stabbed in the neck, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't like to hear, percentages and stuff like that. I want to know actual crime. This is what's going on in the village of Hempstead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the person being struck with the wrench. We did have one stabbing, one case report with a stabbing incident. We have not made an arrest on that.
All right, what is the procedure on abandoned cars? How long does a car stay in the street before it's considered abandoned?
Well, it depends on what the registration state is. If it's a legally registered vehicle, it can stay there for, it's supposed to be moved within 48 hours. If it's not, as long as it's legally registered, we'll normally put a courtesy sticker on that, letting people know that this vehicle needs to be moved as it's parked in the street. If that car is still there after a period of time, we can't come back and impound the car. We typically don't like to impound vehicles that are legally registered to a specific home.
Yeah, but when it doesn't have plates on it or stuff of that nature.
That's an unregistered. We can take that at once.
Oh, okay, so that means you could tow it right away.
Yes.
Okay. So a car shouldn't be on the street for 3, 4, 5 months.
Car shouldn't be on the street for any amount of time if it's unregistered.
Okay, and what it is, okay, so that means that someone just overlooked it. On Hope Street, like I said, the person was trying to do some work in there, and every time he would, go there and leave at night, someone would break in and steal his tools. Did you get any information on that?
And the director didn't say anything about it. And I'm pretty sure that was put up to you as well. And as well as 260. I know the police department is aware of it because they chased the drug dealer into town. So I know you all know about that. And the senior citizens, they're frightened. And I know the commissions know that. So my concern is that we should be concerned about senior citizens. And she's frustrated. I know she's frustrated. That's my aunt. She's frustrated. And they have to live like that. And we should figure this out together as community people, how to bring about change. Even if we try to get a volunteer community task force, get the people together who want to volunteer their time. And let's get a community task, if we get a community task force together, deputize people in the community to work together. That's what we used to do. Now, he's gone. Figueroa is gone. Anytime he wants something, he only comes when his name is on the docket. After he was voted out, he has not been here in any meeting. That's my point.
I think it's inappropriate.
I know, Mr. Mayor, this is my time to speak, and I mean no disrespect, and I'm saying this because you put his name up. It said you recommended him.
That's correct.
And the buck stops with you, like I always say. This, Mr. Mayor, let me say what I have to say. I have to say this. Since he got off that bench, he has not been here.
Okay.
And I'm saying this because many of us are here because we love this community. Whether he's busy or not, that's fine. But every month there's a meeting, twice a month in this in these power laws. And I'm disappointed because no one ever said anything. Listen, you said I'm allowed to speak and you can say what you need to say. Trustee Daniels, he made a comment about the commercial properties winning. We need an ordinance. So don't allow to have the sign to say we buy houses for cash. Because when they buy our houses, they put maybe a small amount of money in and then they jack up the prices. So people can't buy houses in our community. People that look like us can't buy houses in our community. That's developers gentrifying our neighborhood. We should know that. Another problem that I have, do you all know what the Constitution and bylaws are for you even sitting on the Nassau County IDA? What's the term limits? Is there a term limit? Who sat on the board before? We don't even know these answers. And before you guys even voted on it, you should have known this information. What's the Constitution and bylaws? What's the term limit? There was no transparency. We tried trust you with our community. We voted you in. We trust you to do what's right. So I'm asking you, do you all know? Did you all know? You get ready to go sit on the board. Do you all know that? What's the term limit? What's the term limit? I'm asking you. What?
Do you have that information?
No, because you didn't bring it up.
No, do
You all voted on it. I don't know.
Do you know the term limits?
I don't know.
Do you know the Constitution, the bylaws of the?
No, I don't.
So what happens when you get on the board, just like on the trustee board, when you go to training, when you're part of that organization, you learn it. No, I don't know it, but I will find out, just like I do on the
And this
trustee
is what
board.
I'm saying. Trustee Hobbs, when they put your name in, you knew that name was going to put in, right?
Again.
No, I'm saying, I know when I ran the school board, I knew what term I was going for. I knew exactly what term I was going for, and I read the Constitution and bylaws. So we hold a responsibility to do our due diligence. It's called due diligence.
And I promise you I'll do due diligence. It has nothing to do with being appointed on the board. I on the trustee board. I received the certificate, actually, Deputy Clerk Samantha Fountain Lodge for 5 years of going to training. Whatever I'm on, I'm always going to training. Because on the school board, Shelley Gracie and I, we went to training. So I do due diligence.
I'm not saying you.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying you made a statement asking, do we know something you don't know yourself?
I'm not
But you
saying
said you're qualified.
no, I didn't say that. I just saw this tonight for the first time. Mr. Daniels knew, no, Trustee Daniels knew that there were people that sat on the board. But the only thing, he didn't have all the information either. And so, I'm saying this to you because you didn't have all the information. You knew that they sat on there, but he didn't know if there was a term limit, if the term limit expired.
Does that disqualify a person? You said
no, I didn't say disqualified.
But you said you.
I didn't say disqualified. I said, what I said was, and I'm saying this again, I sat at town hall and I watched Mr. Figueroa make decisions for this village that we didn't agree upon. We didn't agree with. Mr. Figueroa sat on IDA for the interest of the village. Did he or did he not? Thank you. And thank you. And it wasn't for the interest of this village. And I don't think he should have been sitting again on another one. I hope you guys hold him accountable for his votes. Because believe me, I will be there holding him accountable. Because he did not. And I'm disappointed. He should not be there again for this village. And we need an ordinance for people hanging signs and putting signs up and wanting to buy houses in this village. It's a detriment to us.
There is an ordinance for that.
There is indeed.
There's an ordinance for that. There are no term limits on the way the law was written in for the Village of Hempstead representation on the boards. There's no term limits associated with that law. That people have to be voted on collectively by the body of the village board. And it's not just the mayor that can appoint people to that board per NICOM. Everybody has the opportunity to present someone. Everyone gets to vote yes or not, yes or no. So and the fact that they have to vote on the people that sit on that board is the transparency. It's not done cloak and dagger. It's done in a public meeting. So yes, we do understand it. Now, whether or not you agree with their votes once they're on the IDA board, you know, people appoint upon to where they feel. I mean, that's just the way it's.
Thank you, trustee. Thank you.
Well, so in regards to these signs, are we going to find these people who are putting signs all over our village when we buy houses and houses?
We'll notify the building department because there's indeed a code against it.
Because they're all over. They have more signs.
They're using telephone poles, etc., and it's not permissible.
Okay, so we need to get in contact with them because they're all over, like they're running for office.
Call fire alarm. I get emails from fire alarm all the time. It says sign on such and such pole between these 2 blocks, and then they call us when they rectify. So we do police it.
Okay, because it's ridiculous. And please, let's don't do this again. Please, please, please.
But I must make one comment, right, without trying to get too upset. The questions you asked prior to the meeting on docketed items are appropriate. but you're asking the same questions at the end of the meeting. And that isn't the purpose of the open mic. This is to introduce the questions you asked on this, which have nothing to do with what you're now speaking on. So I would think it'd be fair to the residents, particularly those who want an opportunity at the mic, if your questions at the beginning are limited to docketed items and the questions at the end, open.
I'm confused. What do you mean? Which one are you talking about?
We have an open mic at the beginning of the meeting for any docketed item. Because what has happened in the past, I agree, what happened in the past is you didn't get a chance to talk on something until after we voted, making your comments meaningless in part. Then we have an open mic at the end of the meeting for open discussion, such as the series of questions you have here, but you didn't touch on these. You went back and repeated what you said in the open mic and at the beginning. I'm suggesting that's not the ideal way of handling it.
I appreciate that. My question is, what did I write on my paper?
You wrote about support homecoming?
Oh, I didn't have my paper. I should have took a picture of my paper because I totally forgot what I wrote. But that thing was really sitting in my spirit.
Apparently, but we still love it.
So, okay, support homecoming. Please support homecoming on the 19th. Our students need support.
Who are we playing?
I don't even know.
We're playing ball.
Okay, okay. What else have I on my paper? What else have I on my paper?
You said that we should leave by 8:30.
Okay. What is saying?
We should leave by 8:30 p.m. so everybody has a chance to get home.
It don't say that. But next time I'll take a picture of my paper because I forgot what I wrote.
Entertain a motion?
So
Anyway. Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Hobbs?
Yes.
Trustee Daniels?
Yes.
Trustee Renfro?
Yes.
Mayor Ryan?
Yes.
it's only a vote on the same as I had on the last several meetings.
I haven't been here. What you I like the
But I told you, it's going to be the same thing. But I told I know I'm going to get